What's up, you guys? Sales Bro Pod. We are back with another one with a very special guest this time around, Mr. Justin Schmidt. Justin, thank you for coming on, man.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me, bro. Glad we can finally make this happen.
Of course. Yeah, we do a lot of text back and forth, but each of us, I know we're both very busy, so it's cool to be able to come together for like an hour and really dive into some stuff here. Since both of us are mostly on Twitter and most of the audience is on Twitter, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to know who you are, and maybe you've chatted with a bunch of them before. But for those that don't, man, can you give us the overview of who you are and what you're up to as of today?
Yeah, man. So Justin Schmidt, I'm first and foremost, I'm a father and I'm a husband. My family absolutely comes first. I'm a business owner. I own my own setting management company. So I basically, come into a business and I train and manage their setters. I can onboard them, create SOPs, scripts, tracking data, basically everything to make sure the company's like squeezing as much revenue as possible out of their pipeline.
Cool. Very valuable service, man. And I know you haven't been doing that for all that long, and there's definitely a good story leading up to it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, man, let's take it back, man. You definitely got a few years on a lot of these money Twitter kids, right? And your story is probably a little bit more elaborate. I mean, I know you served like in the Army, right?
Yeah, I was in the Army for 6 years, from 2007 to 2013.
Yeah,
so
2007.
Before most of these guys were like hit puberty, I was in the Army.
They're in like elementary school.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so you served in the Army. Obviously, I mean, I wouldn't assume that this sales stuff was like on your mind at that time at all, was it?
No, man, not even a little bit. Like, I got out of the Army in 2013 because I started having seizures. And so, like, me even being able to work again is just crazy to me. Like,
Yeah.
From back then, I didn't think I'd ever be able to work again because my seizures were so bad.
Were you deployed in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I was deployed in Afghanistan with the 82nd Airborne Division from 2009 to 2010.
Dude, it's badass, man. Thanks for your service.
Appreciate you.
Cool, man. So dude, we only have a limited amount of time. I'd love to dive into like more of that experience, but we have a lot of stuff sales wise to cover. So you served 6 years, you got out. Man, what happened after 2013? Like, let's fill in some of the gaps. 2013 to 2023. I know I think you were in a little bit of like insurance related stuff, like wholesaling and then insurance and a little bit of stuff like that, right?
Yeah, man. So I actually started like trying to make money online in like 2016, 2017. I started like with like MLM stuff, multi-level marketing for those that don't know. There's this one thing I tried doing on where like you would take products from Amazon and try to like sell them on eBay and like take the profit or whatever. I tried e-com, copy, like everybody else, man. I've tried so much to try to make money. And the first time I ever actually made $1 online was 2021 when I was in wholesale real estate.
Yeah. What was the experience like with wholesaling?
So that was rough. It was a grind. I was doing 200 to 300 cold calls every day, 6-7 days a week. Like I was literally calling people on Christmas and Thanksgiving. So just grinding out, trying to make $1. And I did that for a year straight. And then I realized like, it's kind of slimy. I'm like trying to talk old ladies out of their house, but I really love the sales process. So that's when I kind of like pivoted and decided I was going to get into sales.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, I don't think we've ever talked about that before, but like, so you had some pretty significant cold calling experience, which definitely makes this stuff a little bit easier, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. When you're getting cussed out every day, like it's just nothing, no objections ever going to phase you whatsoever. Just because you've heard it all. It doesn't matter.
Cool. Why do you think you had success with, I mean, that's technically sales, man. Like, why do you think you had success with that over like e-commerce and copywriting and all that other stuff?
I think it's because it was more personal, like being able to talk to people. And just something I was naturally better at than trying to sell something on Shopify or something.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's funny how it works, man. I actually thought of myself as like the opposite. Like I'd probably be better in in a role where I'm not talking to people, and then here I am talking to people all fucking day long, and it works pretty well. So cool, man. So we got into some real estate, had a little success, learned how to really hit the phones and put your head down and grind. You said for about a year. Um, was it the realization where you're like, hey, I don't feel so good about like convincing these people to sell me their house that ultimately got you out of that?
Yeah, exactly. So I remember I had a business partner, and we got into an argument because he was like, "Oh, you didn't close this person," and I was like, "Bro, it was an 85-year-old lady that has literally nowhere else to go. Like, I'm not going to do. I always say like my ethics are for sale, right?
Yeah.
My integrity is not for sale. So, and that just really rubbed me the wrong way. And after that, I was like, man, I just can't do this anymore. So
Yeah.
I stepped away like within days.
Interesting. So then now here you are, you got this skill, and you're just like cut off, what you had been doing for the past year. Where'd you go after that?
Twitter. I mean, I just kind of dove into money Twitter and sales Twitter.
Yeah.
Found Luke Alexander and Alex from Closify. So I was like, screw it, man. Like I heard about Closify, so I jumped in there, and that's how I got my first like setting gig.
Yeah. Cool. How did you stumble across money Twitter? You don't just go on Twitter and search up money Twitter. Like who is the person that you found that like kind of opened your eyes to it?
I don't even know, to be honest with you. I remember being on Twitter, and then like the next thing I know, I'm in money Twitter. Like I'm following you, I'm following Luke, I'm following
Yeah.
Caden, like all these guys, right?
Cool.
It just
Cool.
organically happened.
Yeah. So then you started appointment setting. What was it for, like a coaching offer or what?
Yeah, it's for a YouTube automation offer. So I got the
Hmm.
job through Closify, and I remember like in the application, the guy was like, don't apply to this if you're weak minded, if you can't hustle, if you're not ready to work hard. And I was like, gosh, that's me. Like that's what I was just doing for the last year. Like this is nothing,
Yeah.
right? And so I apply, I get the job as a setter, and then yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And so you did that for a while. And if I'm remembering correctly, that's the one where you moved up to close and then to manage the sales team, right?
Yeah, so within 9 months, I went from not really knowing anything about online sales to being sales manager. It was a windy road, but I made it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I think when we first met, you were at least like closing on that
Mm.
offer, and then you were sales manager very shortly after and bringing people, like recruiting people in, which was cool. So like, dude, how'd you do it? How'd you go from setter to sales manager?
Well, first, like I gotta say this is because some people like think it's such like you get into money, you get a setter job or a closing job, and then you just start making money, right? Like it wasn't like that for me at all. I had this setting job for 2 months, and I didn't make $1. But I was like committed. I'm like, okay, this has got to work. And so I actually called. I got on a call with Logan, who's Luke's brother, for a closer cartel. And I remember he asked me like, okay, so like, what are you gonna do? Like, I was like, oh, I really don't have the money. And he was like, okay, so try applying for these different. I think he said something along the lines of, what do you need to do to make this work? And I
Hmm.
was like, man, what do I need to do? And so I applied for like PayPal credit, applied for credit cards, nothing. I didn't get approved for anything. And so I remember sitting there researching, like what can I do to like I need to come up with this money. I need to get coaching. I need to get better because I was like on the verge of losing my job because I was so bad.
Hmm.
And so I ended up like refinancing my house, like literally mortgaging my family's future, like betting on myself. So my mortgage went doubled whenever I did that, and we were already struggling like financially. So it was literally make or break for me.
Damn. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one part of your story that I haven't heard anyone else in this space have to do. And again, it just goes to you being, having a few years on these guys, right? You got wife, kids, mortgage. A lot of these kids still live with their fucking parents. Like they couldn't even understand the level of pressure. Um,
Yeah.
okay, dude. So you're in this role and you work for 2 months, no results. You get together the money, join the program, get some coaching. Um, and is that about the time when things kind of just started to take off for you?
Yeah, that's when I decided. Like then, as soon as I put the money down, I was like, I'm going all in. This I will make this work. Like I know it's cliche or whatever, but like I literally like bent the universe to my will, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to make this work. It's going to work. There is no other option. And so I just went. I literally obsessed over sales and the sales process and everything. And my first month, being in Closer Cartel and getting coaching and stuff like that, I went from making no money to making $8,000 like my very next month. And the only thing that changed was like my training and like my habits.
Damn. That's
So it was
crazy.
literally life changing.
Yeah. As an appointment setter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really, really good stuff. So then you kept setting for a while, right? For the YouTube offer. When did you guys get to the point where it's like, all right, Justin, you're pretty fucking good at this. Let's bump you up to take some closing calls.
I just kept bugging the owner. I was like, man, like my sets are closing, but like I'm setting really good, and they're not all closing, and they should. Like I can do this.
Yeah.
Let me just show you what I got, right?
Yeah.
And started closing. I think I closed like my very first call.
Cool. Was it him the owner taking the closing calls or a closer?
No, we had a closer. So it was me and the closer and like the owner, and that was the entire team, like on the sales side.
Cool. So then you bugged the shit out of him until he let you close. You started closing deals left and right, and then natural progression, man, moved up to sales manager. How long after was that?
It was only like a month or two, really. I didn't really close for that long before because I was closing in tandem with the other closer, and then he stepped away. And at that same time, we were growing, like we expanded really big.
Yeah.
And so the owner was like, we got to do something. And at this point, like to backtrack a little bit, from day one, I was helping him build systems, automation stuff, like all the back end stuff I was doing to help build all this out because it was a newer company. And so when I first started, like the company was only doing 60,000, and then by the time I was sales manager, we were up to $200,000 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, sweet. And that just goes to show, dude, like you not telling people to come out here and work for free, but like you were going above and beyond, and now you are where you are. And like that's a fundamental part of, I would say, why you are where you are, because you got the experience, you got to leverage up to be closer, then sales manager, and then you could just take that and go to other places and say, this is who I am, this is what I've done. And you're a lot more appealing than the setter who quit after 2 months and like jump ship, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah. It's, I mean, again, I wouldn't recommend to these kids, like if you're not getting paid for 2 months, I mean, if it's you, then yeah, get training. But if it's not you, then be able to recognize that and get out, go somewhere else, go work with
100%.
Justin.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
I'll train you up nice.
Cool. So now you get up to sales manager. And I remember us having a conversation where you're like, yeah, I think I'm ready for a new opportunity. Right. What was the story after that when you realized like, yeah, I think I'm ready to do some bigger and better things. How did things play out?
Oh, it was ugly. It was not pretty at all. So a lot of drama happened. I didn't get paid. I had to call the boss out on like being unethical with his money. And like I said earlier, like my integrity isn't for sale. It's something I hold in very high regard. And I found out like he wasn't paying other team members, not just me, and it was a mess. And so I was like, I'm done. And then I think I hit you up about like a B2B offer you had, and then I started closing for that PR offer for a little bit, and that was stressful.
Yeah, that's like a completely different game.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I remember there was a lot of like back and forth, a few different offers. And I don't remember what was the point where you realized, you know what, dude, like, fuck this shit. Like, let me just start my own thing.
Yeah. So in between all this, I also set for Closer Cartel for a little bit. I was trying to juggle a couple different offers at the same time, and just mentally I couldn't do it. And then I became a setter coach for Closer Cartel, and I loved it. Like being able to get on calls and review calls and give these kids like the sauce or whatever, and then like them coming back and be like, oh, bro, I used what you said, and it really helped me out. Blah blah blah. Like I got so much like joy out of that.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is awesome. And so one of the offers I got on was for a closer and setter manager. I negotiated setter manager in there, and So I was managing the setters and closing on the side. And then I was like, man, why am I closing? Like I was getting to the point where I was like, oh man, I have another call. I don't want to do this. And it just wasn't enjoyable anymore. And so I was like, all right, let's go. Time to pivot.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this. I think this could be interesting. Like, you became a coach for the coaching program that you bought into. From what I know, man, there's a lot of people not in like the exact situation, but like they come in the same spot. Like, I want to be an appointment setter, right? How did you manage to land that role over like all the other people who could have potentially got it?
Connections and work ethic, man. Like at this point, I think I was setting for Luke. So I basically like took a pay cut to go from sales manager on one offer to closer to now I'm back to setting again, like back to my roots. And just grinding. And he was like, hey, like we need a coach for setters. So, you're already setting for me. Might as well be a coach as well. Like coach about what you're doing every day.
Yeah.
It just made sense.
It's like looking, if you step back however long ago that was, like looking forward, you're like, dude, no way something like that could happen. But looking back, it's like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like, how could it have panned out any other way? But that's cool, man. So then you go from setter to setter coach to doing management with another company. And I know you've had a bunch of opportunities to work with other teams since. So now you're just like full-fledged business owner. What's it like being business owner versus like high ticket setter or closer? Like what are some of the pros and the cons that you've seen so far?
The pros are I'm in complete control of my own, like everything. So if I, don't want to do a call one day, I'm not doing a call. If I want to take a day off, I'm going to take the day off. If something happens with my family, like I don't have to worry about rescheduling calls and making sure another closer is available so I can do this. It's all on me. But at the same time, my work ethic is going to determine how much money I make. So I mean that's along the same lines as closing. And also it's always like a reflection, like because of how I have my pay structured. It's based off of like how good setters are doing. So if they're sucking, I'm not making money, and that's because I'm not doing a good job training them, or there's back end things that I need to fix, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's cool. What's like a drawback of being, I guess, in charge of your own business versus closing?
Drawback is probably like owners not wanting to relinquish control. That's probably been the biggest issue. Is that's like I'm the type of person, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm good at my job. Let me do my job. Right? Just go over there, work on the company. You hired me for a reason. Let me do my job. And sometimes a lot of owners have a hard time like relinquishing that control. And so that's probably one of the biggest things is when they're trying to like micromanage everything I do. It gets really frustrating.
Yeah. And you're mostly working with like coaching programs, right? Not really agencies, or some both.
I've worked with both.
Okay. How do you know? Let's talk about like coaching programs. Like when do you know that it's the right time to bring on the setter, and like how would you recommend that a coach structures like a compensation plan that would work for all parties?
So when it comes to hiring setters, setters like a high level overview of a setter is they need to squeeze out like everything out of your pipeline. Like every dollar that's in your pipeline, like that's their job is go in, call people, and then set them on the calendar for the closer. They're also there for outreach, and then a filter. So I would say like I wouldn't suggest hiring like a phone closer until you have a lot of leads where they can come in and just bang out 150, 200 dials a day, every day, for weeks on end. And then as far as compensation is concerned, I've never been a fan of setters getting paid based off what the closers do. So like a closing percentage. So a lot of times it's setters get 5%, closers get 10%. I don't like that because there's been you can have the perfect set and the closer fumble the ball. and then now no one's getting paid, right? So I always think it's best to do, like, if you're going to do that, then give them a base pay, or do, per qualified set. And a qualified set is determined if the closer pitches or not.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. Good to know. What's like the biggest mistake that you see, like when you come into some of these companies and they have setters already? Like, what's usually like the top one or two biggest things that they're kind of messing up?
And it's really across the board with salespeople. It's not understanding when to shut up. Like, so many new salespeople and setters, especially, is like they just talk too much. Like they'll ask the prospect the question, the prospect will answer, and then they'll talk about whatever the prospect answered. Like, I call it fluff. Like, there's no need for that. You just go on to your next question. And then giving too much information, like, that's really going to affect your show up rate as well. And that's probably the best metric to track for a setter, is their set to show percentage.
So it sounds like the biggest issue is just kind of like a lack of proper guidance on the business owner side.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people, and I work in this space too, kind of like helping people hire setters. And a lot of people just think, oh yeah, like, I'll put the appointment setter in and they'll figure it out and we'll just make more money. Like, no, you got to work with that person or get somebody who can work with that person, because you're not going to get the production that you want out of that person. And the reality of it is, man, most appointment setters, like, they're entry level salespeople. A good appointment setter is either, making good money somewhere else with a packed calendar, or they're about to be a closer and they don't want an appointment set. So, like, usually when you're working with appointment setters, like, you're dealing with somebody who doesn't have the most experience in the world. But that being said, man, do you know people? Because I've seen it before, like people who prefer appointment setting over closing, where they've been doing it for like a long ass time. Have you seen that before?
Yeah, I was kind of like that. Like, I wanted to close just to be a closer, but at the same time, if you can make enough money, like, setting's so easy compared to closing. There's like no, especially if the commission structure's set up nice, like, setting's so much easier.
Yeah.
There's no stress about, like, oh man, if I don't close this guy, I'm not getting paid. It's like, no, I do my job, he shows up, I get paid.
Yeah. Cool. What was it like? What was it like when you first started? Like, when you were like, dude, I'm gonna take a break from like trying to be a setter or closer sales manager and just like do my own thing and really push into it. Like, I'm from what I remember, you had some really quick wins, but like obviously you took a little pay cut in the beginning. Like, what was that like, trying to navigate through that?
I mean, it wasn't difficult, just because I've always known. Like, I made a thread about this on Twitter a little bit ago, and it's like, if you're gonna get into sales, like, you need to know, like, what is your desired outcome gonna be. So I got into sales knowing that my long term goal is to get into like real estate investing, and my plan to get there was sales, business owner, leverage the business, the money from the owning a business, and then get into real estate investing. So it's always been kind of like a part of my plan. So I was willing to take like a small pay cut, knowing that it's just going to pay off in the end.
Yeah, that's my plan too, man. Sales and real estate.
I love it. Yes, sir.
I was talking to my buddy about it today, about some syndication work. Cool, man. So now, dude, here we are. I think you've had your own thing technically for how long now? It's like
3 months.
3 months. And I saw, I mean, I feel like a few people who saw this podcast probably saw a little win you threw in the community. Like, dude, you're doing pretty good with it, man. What's I mean, you're still like a one-man operation?
Yeah, it's just me.
Is it pretty hectic?
Yes. It can get hectic. As long as I schedule my day out right, like, it's not that big of a deal. But if I slack, it gets chaotic quick.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have even asked that question, because we had to reschedule this twice. So I kind of have a feeling it's hectic.
Yeah, cool. Exactly.
Cool. I mean, and it's good. It's a good problem to have, bro. Like, if you're making money and you're busy, like, meeting more people, it's just compounding. Like, month 1 or month 2 is way bigger than month month 1, month 3 was bigger than month 2. I'd assume you're probably going to keep on that trajectory. What's the big vision for it? Where are you trying to take it?
Honestly, I'd be happy. My goal is to get to 30, 40K a month. I don't want anything crazy. Like, I think that'd be a good number for me to hit for the business. It's where I'm making good money, but at the same time, I'm not overwhelmed with work.
Yeah.
And then from there, pivot into real estate.
Yeah. And I think we talked about this before. Like, it is kind of hard to bring on employees because everything that you do is like, it's around you. Like, you're the guy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you can't just say, oh yeah, I'm going to be your new sales manager. Actually, my employee is going to be your new sales manager. Like, it's kind of an interesting situation. Dude, how as you've gone through like the last year or like 2 years, how has like Twitter and the network that you've built from Twitter played a role in like you getting to where you are now?
Bro, it's massive. Like, I've been saying since I don't know how long, like your network is everything in this game.
Yeah.
I know right now, like if my business just stopped, I could make a couple posts and have a job closing tomorrow. And it's because of my network. If I need to bring on new clients, I make a couple posts, I reach out to a few people, I have new clients.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's every job opportunity I've gotten besides the very first one from Closify has been because of my network.
Yeah. Yeah. My story is pretty much the same way. Like, most of the work that I get or the people that I work with, it's through who I know. People reach out to me because they know somebody else that I work with. It would just be infinitely harder, man. Like, it wouldn't, like, I don't think either of us would really be where we are without knowing the people that we do,
Yeah, 100%, man.
And maybe, dude, hopefully this podcast is a good way for more people to start networking with you, man, to get you some more clients. Yeah. Cool, man. So business going good. You got the purple M3. Everyone's seen it. Is it fast? How fun is it, bro?
Fast. It's so much fun. Oh my God. I love it. I've never had like a nice car in my entire life. I've always got like the very basic, I grew up white trash. I've been broke my whole adult life. So being able to go out and buy a, nice BMW with all the bells and whistles has been amazing.
Dude.
I don't even got to like put a key in it. I just walk up to it and it unlocks by itself and push a button and it starts. It's
That's
amazing.
Sweet. I bet the kids love it too, huh?
Oh my God. My oldest is 9 and he's like, I want to ride in the sports car, Dad. I want to ride in the sports car.
Dude, that's sweet. I haven't like splurged on a car yet. I mean, I'm kind of holding back just to like, I don't know. I feel like I want to get just a bigger sum of money under my name before I do anything like that. And I kind of want to go into real estate first. Like, I got a car and it runs and it's paid off and it's it's pretty fun, but like soon I'll probably I really would like to get like a BMW or a Porsche. That would be like the goal. Maybe in like a next year or two. That would be fun. But no, dude, it's freaking awesome. I mean, that just shows like you've been putting in the work, dude. You don't get some shit like that just by like I mean, you could just by setting appointments, but like you've been doing work outside of that, which is awesome, man. Cool. So we got a little bit of time. We can't go too much over the hour on this one. You got some back-to-back meetings. Shoot, man, let's dive into some questions because I was telling you earlier, I've never had more listener questions for an episode than this one. So
it's crazy.
Let's go into the community first and then pull up some of those. But let's see. And then there's some on Twitter too. Okay, so Kunal asks how to transition from a setter to a closer. What metrics to look for? When do you know it's time? What would you tell him?
I'd say metrics I wouldn't really worry about. Maybe your set show percentage. But I'd say you would know whenever like setting is a small closing call, right? Like you still have to dig for pain, you still have to get the goals, you still have to do a mini pitch. So when you know how to dig and you're taking these calls and you know how to like pivot the conversation or challenge them properly or when to disqualify them or you know when to if they say something if you know like okay like that's a red flag or hey I need to dig deeper in that and you can and you're able to and it's automatic, that's when I'd say you're ready to step up.
Cool. So it's not as black and white as most people would like it to be. That's what I tell people. Like it's really just like in my eyes when you get presented with an opportunity that seems worth jumping on, which you got to be connected to the right people, man. Doesn't just happen, you know.
That is
Uh,
a fact.
Mr. Jason Sosa, big time setter here. Um, he wanted to know some tips on keeping a full pipeline and being consistent with follow ups. I guess as a
That's on
setter.
you, man. That's a mindset thing. I think just making sure you're banging out dials when your follow ups. Make sure you're giving like for setters and closers even like whenever you want to follow up with someone like memes like personalized memes are amazing. They've been killing it for us. Sending them value like hey man I know especially if it's someone like okay my cybersecurity offer let's say one of my setters talked to somebody that's a like works at Amazon and then they want to get into cybersecurity. Well, if they go through the testimonials and find, hey, we have someone that worked at Amazon and then now is in cybersecurity, like that person can then see themselves being, that person that has the success they want. And so sending like valuable things really helps. But
Yeah.
as keeping your pipeline full, that's going to be on you and, keep
Yeah.
grinding.
Personalization, whether it's a meme or some somebody else's story who's relevant to them, and yeah, keeping the pipeline full. I mean, from what I know, Jason's on like a pretty big inbound appointment setting role. Um, like it's kind of a little bit out of your control, but depending on what you have access to, like you could potentially go out and like message people and do all that. But I'm not so sure what his setup looks like.
So for inbound appointment
Um,
setting, what I would do is I would go into the CRM and create a new, or even for outbound appointment setting, I do this. Go into the CRM and create a new opportunity section for like setter follow up, and just grind on that whenever you
cool.
have downtime.
That's good advice. Seb wants to know the fundamentals of a high show up rate.
There's going to be a couple different things. So you have to know their deep seated why. Like why it doesn't matter if it's a fitness offer, if it's a B2B offer, whatever. Like they're on a call, they reached out, they filled out a form, whatever, because they need something, and so you need to figure out what it is they need, why they need it. So you got to dig for pain, and you got to get deeper than surface level. Like, oh, I want to make more money. Like, okay, so what's that going to do for you? How's that going to affect your family? Has not having this money affected you or your family? Stuff like that. And then the same with their goals. And then you have to pitch the closing call properly. And so that's kind of like a mini pitch. So you don't want to take like the ammunition away from the closer and give away too much information, but you still want to frame it like, okay, for the cybersecurity offer I'm on, my guys frame it as, so, we work with a lot of companies and our most successful, and all the companies are looking for these three qualities, X, Y, and Z, right? And so what I'd like to do is get you on a call with an admin, and they're going to be able to walk you through like how you can leverage these qualities so you can reach your goals of whatever they said earlier. And then you want to get a couple tie downs and then make sure that like on the back end, you're sending them valuable stuff as well.
Yeah. So you just need to build value. Like you have to make sure they understand, how this could potentially help them in their situation, build the value, basically like get them fucking excited for it.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Cool. Cool. I like it. Let's see. I think we got one or two more from the community. Fardid, the GOAT, What are the fundamentals of a good SDR? What are some misconceptions slash bad practices new SDRs slash setters do that cause them to churn or make their lives more difficult?
So I think this goes back to what you asked earlier, and it's, talking too much, not asking the right questions, not digging for pain. And it's tough as a setter. Like as a closer, it's a little bit easier because you can get in a groove of like, okay, call after call after call, like I'm going to have the same pitch, blah, 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 or the same, script or whatever. But as a setter, it's a little bit more difficult because you might call 80 people and they don't answer. Also, when someone picks up and you need to turn it on, right? So you go from like being in like robotic mode to have to go into setter mode real quick, and so it's a very difficult thing to not just go through the motions or talk too much because you're excited someone finally picked up and is talking to you. I mean, like, I understand where they're coming from, but yeah, just understanding the fundamentals of setting and how to get someone excited, how to dig for pain, how to get their goals, and then doing some tie downs to ensure they're going to show up to the call.
Okay. What would you say about like if you're going outbound, you're ripping cold calls? Because I think Fardid is in a cold calling position. Um, like sure, some of the process is the same, but like when you're calling somebody who's not expecting it and they have no idea who you are, like how does that change?
It changes the dynamic a little bit. It's just you have to capture their attention in the first, what is it, like 15 seconds to make that transition a little smoother. And that's a lot more difficult with cold calling because they don't know who you are. So there's different tactics to use, like you can drop your sandwich or just straight up say, hey man, this is a cold, just give you a heads up, this is a cold call. Do you want to hang up now or do you want to continue?
Yeah.
And then just start ripping through it. And if as soon as they give you permission to continue, then you just go through your setting script.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, assuming you pulled a lead that's relevant to what you sell, like you should be able to get their attention if you're halfway decent at what you do, but it's a lot harder. It's way harder when you're going outbound.
Yeah, 100%, especially cold outbound.
Yeah. Jonah wants to know prepping inbound prospects for upcoming calls with a closer, specifically confirming attendance. And we kind of talked about, he said qualifying as well. We kind of already talked about that. But like, how do you go about confirming attendance to make sure that they're going to show up?
So what I have my guys do is I have them do 2 confirmations minimum on the call. So a couple ways to do that is like, hey, so John, when would be a good time for you to get on this call? Oh, tomorrow at 5:00. Okay, so tomorrow at 5, like, are you 100% sure you're going to be able to make it there? Yes. So nothing's going to come up, like, despite like Godzilla coming and attacking your city, and you can kind of make them laugh and ease the tension. You are going to make it, correct? Yes. Okay, sweet. Just wanted to make sure. And then before you get off the call, you can ask one more time. And then you want to text them value, and then you want to follow up like the morning of. You have to be very diligent with setting. So, hey man, just wanted to make sure everything's good for your call today, and nothing came up. Is everything still good?
Mm-hmm. Good.
And along with sending them value afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it all comes down to like, I mean, when you think about it fundamentally, like you want to get them to buy, you want to get them to show up so that they buy. Like you got to get these people excited, man. And you got to make them feel like it is a good fit for them, assuming it is. So if you just pop on as like super boring setter, like your only objective is to just set the call, like not for them to show up or not for them to buy, like shooting yourself in the foot. You gotta bring that energy,
Yeah, and that's something like I notice a lot with setters is they'll get in the mindset of like, sometimes they'll panic and just be like, man, I just need to get set so I can get paid. But it's always quality over quantity in setting. So I always tell my guys, I'd rather you guys set 2 quality appointments a day that have like a 50% chance of closing than 10 that have like a 5% chance of closing or even showing up to the call.
Yeah.
So make sure the people that you do set are qualified, they have pain, they would be a good fit. Like you're the first person these people are talking to for the company, and so you have to remember like you're like the face of the company for a lot of these prospects.
Yeah.
And so you have to come with that conviction that this is actually going to help them.
Yeah. And that conviction or a lack thereof definitely transfers Like, dude, you might sound like so fucking depressing on the call that they're like, dude, I kind of wanted this program, but that guy was so like so unenthusiastic. I actually don't want it anymore. You
Yeah.
just like
Or you're too
drop the ball.
excited and you talk too much.
Yeah,
That's extremely common. Is they'll be like, oh, you can get X, Y, and Z with this program. Da, 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 da. And they'll talk. It'll be a 30-minute setting call, and it's like, man, you got to cut the fluff out and just get to the point. Like something my first boss told me that I'll never forget, and it really helped. Like me frame setting calls, and it's like, get the goals, get the pain, get the why, get the fuck off the call. And so it's just keeping that simple framework in mind, like when you're on a setting call, is something that really helped me out.
cool. Yeah, I mean, a setting call, from what I know, dude, it should be like 5 minutes, right?
I'd say like max 15 minutes. So
Okay.
anywhere
Like,
from 5 to 15 minutes, depending on like what you can get out of the prospects.
I know of people doing like 30, 45-minute long setting calls. It's insane, right?
Yeah, like my closes weren't even that long. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're on an offer where they're making you do like 45-minute setting calls, like that's crazy. And I think I know of a couple people, but like they're good offers too. That's the crazy part. Like they're doing millions a month. And I can't remember who it was exactly, but they were saying like the setting calls were basically the same thing as a closing call, except you just weren't asking for money. So they would talk for like 30, 45 minutes. Um I don't know. That's a super interesting setup.
That's because the owner doesn't know what setters do, where their value truly is.
They need you, bro. If if you're that setter who said that to me, or those setters, you're listening to this, message Justin. He could probably help you out.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Let's get over to Twitter now.
Okay.
Big fucking Joe, my man, had a bunch of questions.
All right.
Your most of the setting that you do, is it over the phone, or do you have good experience with like DM appointment setting and working with those people as well?
So most of my stuff is phone setting. I do have a few setters under me that are DM appointment setting. So
You know anything about the limits per accounts for like each platform?
no, I think he might be talking about LinkedIn. But no, I don't know.
I know on Twitter it's 500 a day. And I think on Instagram, like you can send 20 to 30 and then you'll get like a temporary block, but like it lets you go again in like a few hours. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know what it is on LinkedIn?
No, I don't. I know there's like Sales Navigator on there that helps with that, but
Okay. When it comes to appointment setting though, for like DM setters, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, like you've seen it, I'm sure, where people are asked to use their personal accounts. Like what do you think about that?
huge red flag. Don't.
Yeah.
Like, why? You have no leverage as, someone with 20 followers on Twitter and they're all your high school friends. Like,
Yeah.
people want to talk to the offer owner. So you need to come across as, you need to leverage that as an offer owner and understand, like, people want to talk to you. So hire someone to take over your accounts.
Yeah, my worry would be like, dude, I mean, usually in that case, like you're not going to be making all that much money to begin with. Like my worry would be like getting my personal accounts like banned, and you don't even have any money to show for it.
Well, that's why, like, I think you need to leverage your, if you're an offer owner, like, leverage your personal brand so people are messaging you.
Yeah. Call to
You know
action.
what I mean? 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, Joe had a bunch of DM questions. One about required to post content. Like, yeah, you should be posting content, I would think.
Yeah.
He said, but he had a few more about when to bring in a setter. So, like, if you're bringing in a phone setter, what's like the minimum call volume that you would recommend somebody has for that? Like to at least get them like a nice part-time income.
I'd say 50 calls a day minimum. So you have a few thousand leads in your system. Like DM setting, it's whenever whenever your DMs are just getting bombarded and you can't keep up anymore.
Yeah. Cool. And as far as setting for like a 1-call close versus a 2-call close, is in your mind, like, is there any difference there?
No.
Yeah, it's probably about the same.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, he literally asked like 7 questions, but I feel like we already answered. We already answered some of them.
just rewind it.
Let's go to. No, this one was already answered. Pookie. His name is Pookie. How long was it until you found real success with appointment setting, and when did that lead to him transitioning to closing? I mean, you already said it, like
2 months.
2 months, and then closing like not even that long after. So 3-4 month turnaround.
Yeah.
When you got it, you got it, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I just got a strong work ethic. That's the only thing that sets me apart.
Yeah. How Sanyam asked about DM appointment setting on Instagram, but I think this is applicable to any appointment setting. If you're on a new offer, you're a new setter. Hold on. No, okay. He said how to give opinions within your company as a new setter and make them take you seriously.
You just give your opinions. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have they're either going to take it or they're not. But like,
Yeah.
if you want them to take you seriously, like you have to show your worth. Like you
Yeah.
can't be like day 2 and being like, okay, we need to switch CRMs. Like that's not going to fly. You know what I mean? If you're there for a month or so, you're the hardest working person there. You're showing results. You're bringing the company money, which is obviously huge to the business owner's eyes. Then yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
Dude, they should take you seriously before they bring you on. Like, if they don't take you seriously, they just hired like an order taker, it sounds like.
Yep.
You know, they could have hired like $4 an hour VA. Luke asked how you're so handsome. Dude, I feel you've had like a transformation, man, since you've been in all this stuff, right? Like,
bro, it's crazy.
Been on the gym grind. I mean, you've always had the flow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I see you interacting with those guys on Twitter a lot, like the guys in like the men's health and fitness space. How does that play into all this?
Man, it started like, it's how I started I think in like online sales is like, I just wanted to, knew I was slacking as a father and as a husband. So I realized I needed to do like everything in my power to be the best husband and father I can be. And so that's my driving motivation, every single day.
Yeah.
So, just fitness just kind of comes with it. And I was the skinny kid growing up. Like when I joined the military, I had to get a waiver just to join the army because I was so skinny. Like I was 18 and I weighed 100.1 pounds. And, yeah, dude, I was little, and then I got fat, and now I'm, where I am now.
Now he's just jacked, Chad.
I guess so.
Cool.
Hard work, man. Hard work.
I think it's such a big piece of the puzzle, man. Like, especially if you work from home and you're like in your office or your room most of the day, just like on your computer, like, bro. And I think I've seen you doing it. Like, you go outside, get some sun. Like, bro, it's so important. You'll go fucking insane if you don't like take some time away from this like laptop lifestyle deal and like do work on something else, man. Like, I mean, yeah, you should have hobbies outside of it, but like the gym and like just being outside should definitely be a priority, especially if you live in fucking Florida or Texas, dude. If you live in one of these places and you're not doing that, you're blowing it. And if you live in like fucking Idaho, or I heard Idaho is kind of nice, but if you live in like somewhere where it's always cold and rainy, like, dude, you're blowing it. Get to Texas or Florida.
Yeah, exactly. Like Indiana.
Yeah. Dude,
yeah, no, man, it's huge.
Yeah. So it's
more of like a mental thing.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, before I was in like high ticket sales, I was in roofing sales, and I was like always outside. And whenever I started doing like high ticket sales, I started like I stopped going outside, and I would just like wake up, stay in my apartment all day because I'd work and I'd sleep. And I mean, I was like, dude, this is kind of driving me crazy. Like, I got to start going outside. Like, right before this podcast, I went on like a fucking like 5 mile walk just in the sun, just like because I can. That's the cool part about high ticket sales, right?
Yeah.
You have a no show, cool. I'm gonna go walk a couple miles, get some sun, listen to a podcast.
Exactly. And I think like with the gym, like I do like legs every Monday morning. And so like I get the hardest part of my week out of the way in the morning. So like if you're pushing yourself like in the gym and really, trying to be better, then whatever sales BS gets thrown at you, like it's nothing. You've already done the hard thing in the morning.
Dude, it literally like how you treat yourself outside of sales and outside of work, like it shows so much in like the way you speak and the way you carry yourself and ultimately how other people see you. So yeah. And also like I know there's a lot of people in this space that are kind of like partially nocturnal. Like, dude, when I get up at like 5, 6 a.m. to go to the gym and then I have like a full day ahead of me, like fuck, there's really like no better feeling after the gym. You're like, dude, it's 7:30, like I'm wide awake. I already got the workout done. I'm about to take all these calls. Like you're just like in a better mood than if you just like rolled out of bed, slammed some coffee, and like sat right at the computer. So yeah, y'all got to take care
Our
of
bodies
yourselves.
our bodies are made to be moving around and be pushed and stuff like that. Like sitting in a chair is one of the most unhealthy things you can do for yourself. So you got to negate that somehow. And it helps like with mental clarity and things as well. For
Yeah.
calls.
Yeah. Cristiano Vibes asks, how has faith improved your working life?
So I'm recently, going down, this Christian path. So I think the biggest thing that's helped is just clarity and like a sense of calm. So I was getting stressed out the other day, just with work and the volume, and I wasn't sure on what to do. So I was praying, and I just, God said like you're a leader of men, and that knowing that just kind of like I just had like a calm presence after that. And so just kind of knowing I'm on the right path and I'm doing everything I can every day to be the best person I can be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Definitely helps out.
Yeah. 100%. Just goes, I mean, kind of just goes back to like having other things that you can rely on outside of this. Because if you only got this, man, like it gets really it gets dark, man. It can be really, really good and it can be really, really bad. But Cristiano also asked, what tips on mindset would you have for others looking to achieve your results?
Just I always go back to my work ethic. Just always willing, no matter what you do in life, always try to be the hardest working motherfucker in the room, and that alone will give you results. And just know and take. I always say that like I'm a man of action, so like, it's got me in a lot of trouble. It's hasn't paid off, but it's definitely I think it's paid off more than it hasn't. So
Yeah.
just be willing to take action, be willing to do things, step outside your comfort zone, bend the universe to your will, like just make shit happen.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it's just sales, man. Like if you're not that person, setting, closing, business owner, whatever, like if you're not that person, man, you should probably be doing something else. Like I don't know why. I think with the glorification of high ticket sales, it's attracting a lot of people who like just want to make like quick online money, and they're not the type of people that would generally be attracted to sales. And so you're finding a lot of people get into sales and they just like don't have the fucking drive that it takes to like I don't know, like make it, you know? So
Yeah, exactly. You gotta lean back on like your why. Like, why are you wanting to do this? For me, it's my family.
yeah.
So like that's the strongest why I could have. So making
Yeah.
money is cool, but I actually got an email from Ben Bader a couple of weeks ago that like really put a lot of things in perspective. And he said, like if we're all sitting here and we're all grinding away trying to make money. But like, what happens if someone handed you like $300 million tomorrow? That should scare the shit out of you, because like, what are you working for? If you're working for all this money, like, what are you going to do with it? You know what I mean? So that really, really got me thinking, kind of really grounded me again.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, if you're just playing the game just to see the number go up in the bank account, like if you're like 17, 18, like sure, it's fun. But once you get to, mid to late 20s, 30s, have a kid or two, start doing grown up things, like it definitely becomes more than just seeing like, an extra 5-10 grand in your bank account. Whereas I don't want to like take away from, the excitement of getting that first like sales commission. Like when you see, dude, I remember the first time I saw 10 grand in my bank account, I was like, holy shit, I made it, bro. I made it.
Yeah.
It's
real.
Dude, I had been working since I was like 15, since I could get a job, and I'd always just have like 2 grand, 4 grand. Like I would save a little bit, and compared to others, maybe I had a little bit more as like a fucking high schooler, and then got into sales and it just 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. And I was like, okay, like this is the vehicle, bro. Cause it was always my goal to get into real estate, but I never knew exactly how. Then it became really clear that sales, whether it's roofing, high ticket sales, even other kind of sales, is the way. So
that's an absolute wealth cheat code.
Yeah.
But like you said earlier, you got to have the right mindset and you got to be willing to work for it. Like it's the shit, like just because you can make that kind of money or you see people making that kind of money, it's not going to just get handed to you. Like you have to work for it. It's a craft that you have to own constantly.
Right. And sales is like the ultimate leveling field, because you can come from fucking anywhere, bro. Like as long as you can speak English and you want it bad enough, like whether you got the 4-year degree or you high school dropout or whatever, like some of the best guys in the community that are like doing the best work, like they're not the smartest guys. They're not the most like distinguished, accomplished guys. Like they're just the ones who fucking wanted it the most. So definitely something to take note of. And again, it just like everyone wants the shit so easy nowadays, and I understand like, trying to find an efficient way, but like, dude, there's work to be done. Like you had like a 3 to 4 month ramp up. I had like about a month because I got connected with someone, like fortunately. But there's others, man, where like I'm not gonna name drop, but there's a guy that hopped into the community. He said he had been trying for like 3 years to make online money, bought all these programs, all this shit, never made it, and then he hopped in, got a setting job, made like $300 in the first week. He's from fucking Colombia. So yeah, man, you gotta put in some work. And sometimes, dude, it does take like you having a fire under your ass. Like sometimes it takes you having bills to like actually make shit happen, or you like having your back against the wall. I mean, you just recently shared your side of it. Like, dude, you had family, mortgage, all that. I knew that like when I came into the space, I had to put that fire under my ass too. And I quit my job where I was on track to make a lot of fucking money. I was like, I'm gonna make it work, bro.
Burn the ships.
Yeah. Here we are. Now that's the thing. Like, dude, I know the reason I was able to do that is like, I knew I was the top rep. If I went back to them, I was like, hey guys, I made a mistake. I changed my mind. They would take me back. And even if they didn't take me back, I could go to like any other company in my city and like get on with them, make 6 figures. So I did have a little bit of security in that sense, but I don't know, just find your unique leverage, man, and lean into it.
100%, man, 100%. And it's crazy. Like we've talked about this a few times. Like thinking, like I've only been in this space for a year, or less than a year, and so like imagine like what next year's going to bring. Like we all got in like this space like around the same time last year, and like the growth that's happened in just 1 year is absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, you never even know, man. The way that things are going, like we could both be on just completely different businesses, be doing completely different things, but like the skills that you're earning and the people that you're meeting, just like it's just going to keep compounding until you get to that one moment where it's like, all right, this is the thing that changes everything. Like this is my 7-figure play, you know? So it's super exciting to think. And dude, in those high highs comes the low lows, right? Like there's days where you're like, fuck, dude, am I doing the right thing? Like, should I be doing this instead? Just got to zoom out. Like, I don't know if you practice that, but I practice it a lot, man. Like, I just got to zoom out, look at everything on like a month-long timeline instead of like a week. Like when you have a bad week, bro, or like a bad like string of 2 or 3 days, you feel like it's the end of the fucking world. And then you zoom out, you look at the Stripe account, you're like, nah, dude, I'm good. We're tripping, bro. Just got to keep at it. So
yeah, well, it's a little different for me, like from a business owner perspective, because it's like if I have like a bad couple of days, like I either just fire clients or I just I need I know I need to put in more work. It's either me or them that needs to change, and I can just like adjust accordingly.
yeah,
So I went from like having 4 clients to now I'm just down to 2.
yeah.
But I'm making more money because I'm providing more value, and I much prefer these clients as opposed to the ones I had.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, you're becoming a specialist,
Yeah.
Work with less people. And that's the goal for everybody, bro. Like instead of having 10 clients that pay you $1,000 a month, why don't you just have like 2 that pay you 10,000 a month,
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
that bad. Cool. All right, man. Well, I know you got a meeting in about 5 minutes here. What's some last minute setting game, some last minute business ownership game, or like someone who wants to come up over the course of the year and get to where you are? Like, what are you going to share with that person?
It goes back to work ethic, man. Like always be, no matter what you do in life. This is something that I learned from like a very young age. Like I was hauling hay in Texas heat at like 8 years old. So it's a little different for me, but like you got to be willing to, no matter what you do in life, be the hardest working motherfucker in the room. Like find the best person. Like when you get somewhere, find the best closer. If it's your first gig, right? Find the best setter, the best closer, whatever, and outperform them. So if the best setter on the team's doing 150 dials, you do 250. The best closer is closing at 30%. You need to close at 35%, and just have that drive, just to always try to be, the best you can be.
Yeah,
and that alone is going to take you far in life.
And as a beginner, I mean, you can't really control the output as much. A experienced closer, like they're going to close a higher percentage, but you can take more calls.
You can do more follow-ups. You can follow up on more no-shows. You can do outbound calls whenever your no-shows. There's things you can do.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of putting in the work.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, I know a lot of the guys listening to this, they're like teenagers. Like, bro, Justin could be your dad. So this guy's got some wisdom on you, man. Listen to this, man. We've only been in this high ticket sales space for a year or so, but we got years of experience, that all led up to this point, going all the way back to working in that New Braunfels heat, which I think that's the first thing we connected on. I think you saw I was in San Antonio and you're like, oh, is it from New Braunfels? Like small world, man.
It really is
cool. But sure, man, let's wrap it up here.
Okay.
Anybody, whether we're talking setters, business owners, anyone who wants to potentially work with you, like where do you want to direct the people?
Just hit me up on Twitter.
All right.
I don't even know what it is. You'll have to give them the username because I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tag it below. Hit them up on Twitter. Okay. Check the description here. And Justin's also in my community. So like if you're in there, which a lot of you guys are, you already know he's in there. You already know you could reach him. Super solid guy to have in there. So man, I appreciate you hopping in. I think the audience is gonna love this one. So
I hope so.
Appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, bro. Have a good one, man.